Now for the NASCAR Xfinity Series at Daytona International Speedway, and the stars are out. Larson and Allgaier ready to climb on board. Another Chevy driver also getting set to go. That's Daniel Hemrick, made the championship for last year as a rookie. And he was joined in Miami by the veteran Elliott Sadler, who came oh so close to the championship, but he was a runner-up for the fourth time in his career. Welcome into a long day of practice coverage. The World Center of Racing. It's presented by Toyota. You want good weather? We've got it for you in Central Florida. 74 degrees, going to go up right around 80 today. Mid-70s on race day tomorrow. Track temp right now 101, and it is on the rise. So when you turn the calendar to a new season, you know there are going to be changes. Get out your pencil and paper and make some notes. Brandon Jones, now the 19 for Joe Gibbs Racing. His teammate is a rookie. That's Christopher Bell. Matt Tiff from Gibbs to RCR in the 2-car. Ryan Truex now piloting the 11. And Tyler Reddick, who won last fall, is in that 9 for Junior Motorsports. And the triple threat for the 60 team at Roush Fenway, Ty Majeski, Austin Cindric, and Chase Briscoe. It's Cindric in the car here this weekend. And that 60 machine has had a lot of success when you look at the history of the NASCAR Xfinity Series. With Larry McReynolds, I'm Adam Alexander. When you walk in that garage, you see a lot of great talent, Larry.
I guess the big storyline during the offseason has been the young talent in the Cup garage. But when I look in the Xfinity Series garage, I'm just excited about that. I think about two drivers returning from being rookies last year, Cole Custer and Daniel Hemrick. And then I look at some rookies like Austin Cindric and Christopher Bell, the reigning Truck Series champion. I think the young talent in that garage is just as stout over in the Cup garage.
2 years ago, we had 4 wins by rookies, 5 last year. I think we could break that record here in 2018. So you get 2 practice sessions today, these Xfinity teams do. How do you manage that time? Because the last thing you want to do is screw up your race car.
Yeah, and there's been a slight change to the front end of these cars, so you have to get out there in a draft, but I think you want a controlled draft. You don't want them 2 and 3 wide, 8 rows deep. You just maybe want to find 5 or 6 guys to run with, and then obviously maybe near the end, see just how fast you can run for a qualifying lap.
The anticipation is building. Cars are rolling out. They'll be on track when we return to Daytona. Ready to go. Cars set to roll on track. First practice of 2018 for the NASCAR Xfinity Series here at Daytona International Speedway. And that first car parked at the end of the pit lane. Joey Logano, the 22. 1 year ago, Team Penske won the Owners' Championship, Larry.
And you know, as I look at these drivers lined up on pit road and the track is open for practice, it's no different when you come here to start a new season. It does not matter what series, whether it's the Truck Series, Xfinity, or Cup. You come here with 2 agendas. One, you want to win at Daytona. You want to win at one of the biggest race weekends that there absolutely is. And then the other thing is, you want to get off to a good start, accumulate some points, make the playoffs here toward the end of the season.
I had heard in the garage this morning, teams were going to pace themselves, wait to go out. But just as soon as that track opened, here we go with a bunch of headliners. Are you surprised at this at all?
I'm not, Adam, because you talked about it at the top of the show. They only have 2 one-hour sessions. There's been some changes to the noses of the cars, the bottom half of the nose, what we call the fascia. And I think these guys want to get out there and see what these cars drive like, because we'll talk more about that change as we get into the show. But it's actually took some front downforce away from the car.
The morning nap is over for the birds down the back straightaway. Did you see them all flying away?
They've migrated to Lake Lloyd.
Hey, they slept in till noon. On board with Joey Logano behind him. That's the 20 of Christopher Bell. We'll talk a lot about him in 2018. Many believe, despite the fact that he's a rookie, the favorite to win the championship, won the truck title 1 season ago. 23 years old, as you see, from Norman, Oklahoma, and comes in as a rookie having already won, made that unbelievable move on Eric Jones to pull the upset at Kansas last fall.
I think we'll be talking about him a lot. As we look back at Cole Custer in that's actually, yeah, that's Christopher Bell, I'm sorry, in the 20 car, but as we look back at that car, I talked about the change in the nose. The goal was to create more turbulence behind the lead car, create more of a bubble between those cars, and that would keep them from being able to go up there and bump. Now, you can bump in the Xfinity Series, but you can't push like in the Cup Series. The goal was to try to eliminate some of that bumping.
Well, and I talked to Wayne Aughton, the series director, this morning, and I said, just to confirm, I understand what you have done with these cars aerodynamically, in theory, will create that bubble so you can't lock bumpers, but if it happens, will you still penalize guys? And he said, absolutely, and the competitors are well aware. Just a couple of minutes into practice, Chase Elliott the quickest, Spencer Gallagher, Tyler Reddick, and Daniel Suarez, Austin Cindric, the top 5. So if you look, Junior Motorsports has won 4 of the last 8 races here. Who got that run going back in 2014? Regan Smith driving the 7 car for Dale Jr. What a thrilling finish it was. By that much, he got his first win at Daytona International Speedway. And now he's on our team. Good afternoon, Regan.
Hey guys, thanks. That was a special night. Couldn't be more excited about that race. One guy looking to get his first win in this series is Daniel Hemrick. He came into last year as a relative unknown. We didn't know what to expect out of him. As the year went on, they continued to get better and better. He found himself in the championship 4 and nearly won the championship last season had it not been for a bad alternator during that race. I talked to Daniel earlier today. He said his confidence is sky high. It's the first time in his career he's had the same team for 2 years back to back. So look for him to have a really strong season. Anything less than a championship, it'll be a disappointment. Adam?
No question, Regan. He is a huge talent. So fun to watch on track.
The biggest difference from a year ago, when we opened for practice 1 year ago, that's the first time he had really been in an Xfinity Series car. So now he has that full year under his belt.
He's still with Richard Childress Racing, and he's got those South Point colors on the car. Brendan Gaughan is kind of retired. I put that in quotes. He's going to run some road course races for RC this year. But that sponsor moved from the 62 to the 21, and we've got a problem.
Yeah, that's Dylan Lupton in that 28 car. We stay green, I think. Woo. Yeah, we stay green. No, I think they have put the caution out.
Nerve-wracking start to practice for Lupton. Kid out of California, had success with JGL last year, and you look at the hood of that car, you can see they have moved from Toyota to Ford in 2018, working with the Roush Fenway organization.
Car really just stepped out with him there as he was on the bottom of the racetrack. We've seen that a lot in the Cup Series. Of course, you know, a lot of changes in the setup of the Cup Series.
We did stay green, by the way, as we look one more time at what happened with that 28 car.
He was really lucky because it looked for a minute, Adam, that thing was going to hook and go straight up the racetrack. So really fortunate for that 28 car.
What do you think Tyler Reddick's blood pressure is? He was right behind him. If he had come back up across the racetrack, Reddick may have had nowhere to go.
Dylan has never raced in a NASCAR series here. He has one ARCA start a few years ago.
On board with Joey Logano, spent some time out front in the draft, now tucked in behind Elliott Sadler. That 42 is Kyle Larson. Larson going to share the ride with John Hunter Nemechek, who will be behind the wheel next weekend at Atlanta for Chip Ganassi.
Nobody does this better than Joey Logano. It looked like he was pushing that one car of Elliott Sadler, but he gets up there and he just bump. He doesn't really ever lock the bumpers.
Top 5 right now: Reddick, Suarez, Gallagher, Elliott, and Michael Annett. We heard from Regan Smith. Now we check in with Jamie Little in the garage. Hey, Jamie.
Hey, Adam. Well, you guys have mentioned Tyler Reddick. What a great opportunity for him this year, moving over to Junior Motorsports. He was a part-time driver last year for Chip Ganassi Racing. Now he finds himself in that championship-winning number 9. Of course, William Byron was in it last year. I talked to Dave Ellens, his crew chief, and he said the team is the exact same except for one engineer. And he said, and we know exactly what to do with a new young driver. He said, we need to manage our expectations. 5th to 10th each week, and then we'll go for it. And as far as today goes, it's all about running in the draft. Get his driver comfortable, and right now his driver's saying he's a little bit on the tight side coming back into the garage. Adam?
His teammate getting aggressive on track. You see Elliott Sadler swing up to that high lane there?
Yeah, he looked awfully aggressive in the early part of this practice sessions. These guys are not being bashful, at least getting too wide right now.
Hey, Jamie, talking about Tyler Reddick and moving over to Junior Motorsports after winning for Chip Ganassi in a limited schedule last year. Matt Tifft in the 2 car. Going to be fun to watch his progress as he goes from JGR to RCR in 2018. Ryan Reed in the 16 has now joined the draft. Won 2 of the last 3 February races at Daytona. Can you believe, you look at the stats and the history of the Roush Fenway organization in the Xfinity Series and all the great drivers that they have had behind the wheel of their race cars, only one has been to victory lane at Daytona, Ryan Reed, on 2 different occasions, 2015 and 17, and there's the bump, Larry.
Yeah, and this is what we get a little bit nervous about, is doing it in the corners. You know, it's one thing to do it on the straightaway, but when you're in the corner, I think that's when it makes these drivers, especially in practice, a little uneasy.
See the 18 Interstate Batteries car. That's going to be the all-star machine for Joe Gibbs Racing this year. And driving tomorrow afternoon will be Daniel Suarez. Hard to believe it's already been 3 years since he came here to Daytona as a rookie contender in Xfinity competition.
See Ryan Truex there in the 11 car. You spoke about him at the top of the show. That deal really came together pretty late for him to move over there to the 11 car.
Yeah, but when you look at their history, they were a brand new team 2 years ago. Made great strides going to the playoffs with Blake Cook, and now a big opportunity for Ryan Truex.
That was Joey Logano.
It's Jeff Green in front of him in the 38.
And that was a classic example of what I was just talking about, is doing that little bump as they're turning off into the banking of the corners.
Jeff, an experienced driver, won the championship back in 2000. And here's the combo I feel like we see a lot of when we come to these plate tracks in the Xfinity Series. Joey Logano, 22, in front of him the 98. That's Eric Almirola, who won here at Daytona a couple of years ago in the summertime.
Like most of these drivers are going to make a fairly long run. We're up to about 9 laps on the majority of them. And I think if you can make a good 15-lap run, that burns off enough fuel, heats the tires up, you get a feel for at least the direction the car is going to go.
On board here with Ryan Truex. Appreciate that team carrying our onboard camera. They're looking for big things in the season ahead. To his right, Ryan Reed, who I mentioned has won here a couple of times. Just in front of him, Austin Dillon, who won the summer race in 2015. You got Eric Almirola up there. Mentioned he has a victory at Daytona. Joey Logano also in that mix. Won here in 2011 when he was driving for Joe Gibbs Racing. Some real good, experienced, successful drivers in this lead pack right now. What's up, Regan?
Hey, guys, I'm here with Dylan Lupton. Dylan, early in the year, you're throwing your name in the hat for maybe save of the year. Looked like a wild ride. What happened out there?
Yeah, this isn't how we wanted to start the year, but we're just real arrow loose. Even by ourselves in a single car run, we're just all over the place, and I kind of got brought up the corner, got pulled up a little bit, and then I just lost off the air off the rear and was on for a ride, I guess. So we got to kind of assess the damage from being on and off the splitter and get back out there.
Yeah, and again, I talked about it earlier. You know, the only real change to these cars from last year, the spoiler's all the same, restrictor plate, they still issue the rear springs and rear shocks for these cars, is that little bit of a change in the front fascia, the lower valence, which actually has reduced drag. It's also taken a little front downforce away.
Just under 40 minutes to go. It's the opening practice of the day for the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Reddick, Suarez, Gallagher, Elliott, and Annette, your top 5 at. No doubt it's one of the great weekends in racing, and the fun really gets going here tonight at Daytona. Camping World Truck Series open up 2018, 7 p.m. Eastern Time is when we've got race day for you. Tomorrow, it's the Xfinity cars taking center stage. The Powershares QQQ 300. Brad Keselowski going to be in the booth with Michael and me. Larry and Shannon get it all going from the Hollywood Hotel, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And Sunday, the 60th running of the Daytona 500. It's just 2 days away. Our coverage begins on Fox at 11 a.m. Sunday morning.
1,050 miles of racing over the next 3 days.
Did you just do that math in your head?
It took me a moment, but I got it.
Now, I mentioned that Brad Keselowski is going to be in the booth with Michael and me. No Michael today. It must be nice to have a Friday, a sunny Friday off in Daytona Beach.
He is getting ready for the truck race. Qualifying in the truck race. I'm
You're not going to pile on with me?
No, I'm on, cover his back. The man did 3 practice sessions yesterday. He did the dual races, the pre-race, the post-race last night. So I'm gonna give him a hall pass on this one.
If Michael's watching, he knows I'm just teasing. He told me that he would pay attention to everything that's going on, so he's ready for tomorrow, and I know he will be. Saw him in the garage. Michael loves this stuff, and no one embraces NASCAR and celebrates this sport like Michael does.
Nobody is more passionate. My left arm, though, it gets a break today, or my right arm.
So the draft is calmed. That 40 car is Chad Fincham. He's behind David Starr. Let's listen in on Elliott Sadler's in the garage.
With the side draft looks like you can hang by yourself better.
I mean, I was really surprised the 42 hung by himself as long as he did, and then when we were on the outside by ourselves, we definitely sustained the pack better than I thought we would. Like I thought we'd lose 3 or 4 spots, and we just kind of hung out.
And that's a great thing when you can get out there by yourself beside a line of cars and you can at least maintain. That's a sign of a good car.
We look at timing and scoring. We can't learn much here, Larry, but what are the competitors learning that will apply tomorrow? Because the good news for everyone, the weather going to be almost identical between what we see in practice and the race.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're out there making single car runs for possibly qualifying that I spoke about. Of course, this is an impound race, so you're going to have to race what you qualify, so, you know, there's not much you can do. But unless you're doing that, it's almost like turn the score and monitor off. It's about how the car, it's things like Elliott Sadler just described about that one car. It's how the car gets out there by itself and can hang on. It's how it pulls up in the draft. And then, of course, over the course of a long run, which Elliott went out there and he ran a number of laps. He ran about 12 laps. It's what did the car change over the course of those 12 laps. That's really what it's more about. Stopwatch don't do you a whole lot of good in the draft.
I love this combination. Elliott Sadler and his crew chief, Kevin Mindring. You saw talking to him. There's Kevin in the window. They've done some really, really good things last couple of years in the Xfinity Series. 6 cars entered for this weekend's Xfinity race here at Daytona International Speedway. So far in practice, 27 have been on track. The most recent to go out, the 24 of Kaz Grala. He's a Rookie of the Year contender as we send it back down to Regan in the garage. What do you say, Regan?
Guys, I think we gave the announcer curse to Daniel Hemrick already this year. We didn't see it on track, but a little bit of a checkup. You've got some serious fender damage here. What happened?
Yeah, we kind of, myself, Austin, Matt Tiff, and the 11 had a plan to just go out and try to get a big run to the pack and just see how our cars were in the draft. And South Point Hotel and Casino Chevrolet, first time saying it this year. It felt fine, and we hadn't really got fully up to speed yet, and we lost the pack. A car got down the apron to 1 and 2, so we were going to come down pit road and regroup. And the guy behind me, I think it was a 60 car, he didn't see us trying to come down pit road. It's tough, man. It's just miscommunication, but I'm sure it won't be the first time it happens to anybody this week. But I got faith in these guys. We'll get it fixed up and get back out there.
The 60 is Austin Cindric that Daniel talked about, and they wrinkled it up pretty good there, Larry.
They did, but this is where communication between the drivers, and honestly, even the spotters can play a little bit of role of this on top of the roof here, but those hand signals, you know, waving that hand, that right arm in that race car to let the driver behind you know that, hey, I'm getting out of the gas. I'm going to pit road. And it's been brought to my attention. I did the verbal mention. The reason my left arm has a break today, you talked about Michael's passion. Every time he says something, he smacks me in my arm. So I have left here many a day with a black and blue left arm.
Now tell everyone at home, I've not hit you one time.
You haven't. You haven't yet.
Hey, we were looking at Kaz Grala in the 24 before we went down to the garage and heard from Regan. Here's a kid that's done great things in a short period of time in NASCAR. Came here as a rookie last year in the Camping World Truck Series. Sits on the pole, and with 1 lap to go at the white flag was running 7th. Had that huge mess down the back straightaway, and in his debut, he goes out and gets the win at Daytona. A night this kid is never going to forget. You see him out front, starting the race on the pole. We get the white flag. As I said, he's running in the 7th position, but look at this. Who could have imagined? Ben Rhodes gets around, Matt Crafton up and over, caution comes out, 33 in the lead. He wasn't even going to run a full schedule, but he wins, he's in the playoffs, really changed the dynamic of his racing career.
18 years old, 1 month and 26 days, the youngest driver to win at Daytona.
And what I really like about JGL this season is the fact that Shane Wilson has gone from RCR over to JGL. He's a real good guy to be leading that organization from a technical standpoint.
Well, and you look, that blue Ford Oval, they've made the swap to Ford, and they've done an alliance with Roush Fenway Racing. I think that's going to be big for those two race teams.
Well, you saw it there, bottom left of your screen. Gralla not the only driver racing this weekend that has won here in the Camping World Truck Series. Tyler Reddick, another rookie, did the same. As we check in on Brandon Jones in the 19. Told you off the top, he has moved locations in the offseason. Went from RCR, going to drive for Joe Gibbs in that 19 car. He'll be running full-time this year. So Brandon Jones is on track. His rookie teammate Christopher Bell in the garage. Jamie?
And Christopher Bell in the 20, talking to his team right now. This year, it's going to be a great team to watch. Jason Ratcliffe, of course, he's been Matt Kenseth's crew chief over on the Cup side for the last 3 years. Now he's paired up with the rookie and Christopher Bell. And I talked to Jason this morning. He said there's certainly a learning curve to coming back to the Xfinity Series. He had to go through the rule book. There's quite a few differences between the cars, but right now in this practice, everybody's looking at the splitter and making adjustments on the splitters at this point, Adam.
You know what I love about Jason Ratcliffe is just his perspective on being back in the Xfinity Series, Jamie.
Absolutely, and you were down here as well, and he said the best part of being back in the Xfinity Series is on Sunday. I get to wake up in my own bed. He said the pressure is the same when you're in this garage as it is on the Cup side, but you have that extra day of freedom on Sunday, and he's looking forward to that because, of course, he's a family man.
You know, if you take a look right here, we talked about this area right here. They really widen that out, but that's the front splitter right there. And another change they have made for here in Talladega, they have went from 5 inches off the ground to 4 inches. They've lowered it an inch, which is what they run everywhere else. And I think, like Jamie pointed out, we heard someone else comment about it. I think that's one reason these splitters are bottoming out. They're an inch lower than they were here a year ago.
It's been an interesting first half hour or so of this opening practice. Just over 25 minutes remaining. Tyler Reddick, Daniel Suarez, Spencer Gallagher, Chase Elliott, Michael Annett, your top 5 today. Don't forget, race fans, still plenty of time to get tickets for tomorrow's race. Going to be a great weekend here at Daytona. If you would like to come be a part of the Powershares QQQ 300 tomorrow, visit Daytona500.com or call 1-800-PIT-SHOP. Sunny, 75 degrees. You couldn't pick a better way to spend your Saturday afternoon. Kyle Larson has been on track. He's 11th quick. What's he saying?
It looked like once you're out in the lead, like the car behind you would actually push you a little bit farther down.
I think we had a little bit of a technical issue on what they were saying in the 42
I would like to
cam.
have heard the rest of that, but you know, you see Kyle Larson in his 42 car. He just needs an uneventful day. You know, he crashed out in the Clash last Sunday in the Cup Series, the dual race last night. He just needs an uneventful day.
What's up with Justin Allgaier, 18th and coming off the best season in his career, Jamie?
Well, he just popped out of his car, walking around, talking to the teammates. So there's some subtle changes to these cars this year. You had some time on the track. How do you think that's going to impact the way you guys draft tomorrow?
Well, the car seems to be a little bit tighter, you know, when we started out here. So I'm not really sure. You know, the hard part about today is you got a lot of guys in here that got a lot of excitement because it's the first time on track in a few months. But, you know, there's not always that 40 car feel when you roll out there. So you're trying to learn what the balance is going to be. But our guys did a great job. Everybody back at Junior Motorsports, the Hendrick Engine Shop. Our Camaro SS is fast. We started up at the front of that pack, and so we didn't put a big number up on the board. But I'm optimistic that we got a good car that will race well. So looking forward to get the brand professional ride, go to Chevy and Victory Lane, and go have some fun.
Junior Motorsports certainly going to be a threat tomorrow. Adam, 5 cars in the field.
Yeah, Chase Elliott joining the series regulars that'll run for the championship in 2018. In fact, Chase driving the 88. We'll see him this weekend. They'll run that car a second time in Richmond in the fall when Dale Jr. climbs behind the wheel. Would love to see him more, but no doubt that'll be a big weekend for all the race fans. Dale, of course, retiring at the end of 2017 from full-time competition. And here's a good young talent, made the playoffs last year as a rookie with Joe Gibbs Racing, now driving for Richard Childress. That would be Matt Tifft in the 2. And pretty much the same group that we saw open this practice in the draft, returning to the track to do more of the same, Larry.
Yeah, they ran about 12 or 13 laps. Some started kind of falling off, but obviously the majority of them, I think, went to the garage area for a good 10 or 15 minutes, made some adjustments, and they feel like they can get another fairly lengthy run in during this first practice session.
Jamie and I talking about the fact that Junior Motorsports has 5 cars here this weekend. I said Chase Elliott, he's leading this pack in that 88, won this race a couple of years ago.
And you heard Justin Allgaier tell Jamie about his car was a little bit on the tight side. The front tires aren't quite gripping like he'd like to see them grip. And talking to a lot of crew chiefs yesterday before these cars even came close to hitting the track, I think that was the anticipation with that nose change, that these cars lost the front, little bit of front downforce, that they would be a little bit tighter, especially in traffic.
On board with Ryan Truex there for a moment. His crew chief and kind of the competition director at Colleague Racing is Chris Rice. As a guy on the box, how do you manage having a new driver when you open up the season at a place like Daytona where there are so many variables?
Yeah, we know that Ryan Truex is just chomping at the bit, and rightly so, to get this ride kind of late in the game. And I think the biggest thing is just help him to understand that we're probably going to have a pretty fast race car. It's a very long race, 300 miles. We just need to just be patient, take our time, and not get ourselves in trouble, but especially during these practice sessions.
Biggest opportunity for him. First time he had ever run full-time in one of NASCAR's top 3 series was last year. Camping World Trucks nearly made the playoffs, lost it on a tiebreaker to Ben Rhodes, but really did some good things, overachieved in that Hattori truck, and now gets a big opportunity with Colleague Racing, who has proved themselves as a serious contender the last couple of years.
You know, I talked to Chris Rice yesterday, Adam, and you talked about being the crew chief, and at one point during the offseason there was some conversation within the organization about he would maybe move to competition director and they would put someone else in place as the crew chief, because I think ultimately this organization will become a 2-car team. But I think they finally decided, you know what, we don't want to create a bunch of variables here. You know, we're going to put Ryan Truex in this car and let's see where we're at with what we've had the last couple of years.
Well, they are an RCR satellite team. They're right on campus up there in Welcome, North Carolina. They've expanded their shop, and there is no doubt they plan sometime this year on multiple occasions to roll out a second car to run with that 11.
See Joey Logano in this 22 car. And I think when you look at the drivers that's in this race, especially in the Xfinity Series, he probably perfects that little bit of bump as good as anybody, just not locking the bumpers.
Went to the inside of Cole Custer. Second year for him in the Xfinity Series. And this is impressive, how he's able to get a run and advance his position without a great deal of help being pushed in the draft there. You know, Team Penske's done so many great things in the Xfinity Series. 4 tracks where they've never been to victory lane. One of them right here at Daytona. 4 runner-up finishes. Got to believe he's one of the favorites here tomorrow.
No question. No question.
Here's a look at that 9-car Tyler Reddick, running for Rookie of the Year. Won last fall at Kentucky.
Joey became a dad during the offseason. He and his wife Brittany had their first child, Hudson.
You got a great mix here of the young kids and the veterans. What a learning opportunity for Truex, Custer, and Reddick to be in the draft with Logano, Larson, and Chase Elliott.
Yeah, right now this is the only race, I think, as you mentioned earlier, that Chase Elliott is going to compete in, at least scheduled right now. And I found it hard to believe until I looked. He did not compete in the Xfinity Series last year.
Yeah, and of course won a championship in 2014, his rookie year in that 9-car. In fact, it's interesting to point out the last 2 rookies to drive that 9 machine like Tyler Reddick is this year won multiple races and claimed the championship. Elliott did it back in 2014 and William Byron last year.
And Rookie of the Year.
Right, yeah. That kind of comes with winning the championship.
It probably goes hand in hand.
Just wanted to make sure.
But yeah, he can become the 3rd driver to do it in 5 years.
And you know what? It's going to be hard, because when you look at this rookie group, they're really, really good. But I like what we've seen in recent years out of Junior Motorsports. Last year, sending 3 of their 4 drivers to the championship 4. Saw there the graphic, most wins by a rookie in NASCAR. Record in the Xfinity Series is 5. I think we could flirt with that this year with Bell and Reddick and great equipment. No doubt they've got fat. 14 minutes to go. It's the opening practice for Xfinity teams here at Daytona. Let's get our Toyota team update. Suarez second quick on the board. His young teammates, Christopher Bell, Brandon Jones, 16th and 17th, respectively. All right, we're talking a little JGR. The organization has won here 4 times when it comes to Xfinity Series races, Larry. Who is the only driver that has won here for the coach that is still with the organization? They've won here 4 times.
That is still with the organization.
With 4 different drivers. Of those 4 winners in the Xfinity Series, who is the only driver that is still getting behind the wheel for Coach Gibbs?
Cup or Xfinity? Right, currently, right now.
Right.
I mean, it's got to be Kyle Busch, correct?
It's not Kyle Busch. Denny Hamlin. The other winners for Joe Gibbs here at Daytona, Tony Stewart, who's the only driver to win the February race, Joey Logano, who is now with Team Penske, and Matt Kenseth, who has retired.
Yeah, actually, Joe Gibbs Racing does not have a top 5 finish here since February of 2014. That last win was back in July of 13.
See Christopher Bell heading back to the garage. There's Elliott Sadler pulling down the pit lane. Ryan Reed. Overall, we've had some moments, but it's been fairly quiet with just about 12 minutes to go. Tyler Reddick, fastest lap so far in practice. Daniel Suarez continues second behind him. Then it's Spencer Gallagher, Chase Elliott, and Michael Annett.
The most laps, and this is not a surprise. It does not seem to matter if he's in his Cup car or he's in the Xfinity Series car. Kyle Larson, he's run a total of 21 laps in this practice session. He always runs a lot of laps, which I always quite honestly admire, that you go out there and run a number of laps no matter where you're at.
1 practice to go. We'll have a couple laps in qualifying if you make the second round. 120 lap race tomorrow, but 4 sets of tires for the weekend, right, Larry, to use however you'd like.
Well, and I think,
unless you're a rookie, you get a 5th set.
That's going to be plenty. I think that this race, a lot like the Cup race, track position is going to be pretty important. The fuel window is very similar to the Cup Series. It's somewhere around 46 to 48, maybe close to 50 laps. So you can do this race on a couple of trips to pit road.
You mentioned the most laps turned in this session. The top 3, all Cup regulars. You would think they'd be the ones get out in the draft, make sure it's good, and park it. That's not the case. Speaks to their commitment and dedication to making it go fast. Regan, what do you have?
Hey guys, the 5 car on Michael Annett's really quick right now. 5th on the board. They made their first drafting run, and he was complaining about the car bottoming out from the driver's seat. That's a little bit of a problem here. He was good through turns 1 and 2, got to 3 and 4, and some of those bumps were hitting the splitter and hitting things underneath the race car. So they've been trying to clearance this car and get him a little more comfort for when he's in the pack on Saturday. When you hit that splitter, you lose your front steering, and you don't want that to happen when you're in a pack of 40 cars on Saturday afternoon.
But Regan, that seems to be a common theme in this practice, is that front splitter right there, that yellow piece below the bottom valence bottoming out. Again, it's an inch lower than it was either one of the races here a year ago.
10 minutes to go in practice for the Xfinity teams. Top of the hour, Monster Energy Series cars back on track. We'll have it for you on FS1. Looking forward to that. Brad Keselowski in the booth with Michael and me, Shannon and Larry. Get it all started in the studio. 2 p.m. Eastern Time, live from the World Center of Racing. Qualifying tomorrow morning at 9:30, and final practice for these Xfinity cars comes your way just over an hour from now. Top of the hour, Monster Energy Series teams back on track. Some of them putting cars out there for the first time because they're in a backup after crashes last night in the Can-Am Duel.
Joey Logano, he's running a number of laps. He now has run 22 laps in this practice session. Got a car, several car lengths behind him, but kind of rolled out of it right there.
I mentioned that Team Penske has finished second here on 4 different occasions. Joey's finished second here twice this weekend, in the Clash last week and in his dual race last night. He needs to change that, Larry.
I'm sure that's the goal come Sunday, is he would be attempting to become a 2-time Daytona 500 champion, coming to pit road with just a little under 7 minutes to go. You know, we've been talking so much again about the Xfinity Series, this being the season opener. Of course, the goal is to win at Daytona and win the championship, or make the playoffs and a shot to win the championship. Adam, the last 13 years, we have had 12 different champions. The only repeat champion was Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who went back-to-back in 2011, 2012, and no returning champion is scheduled to run full-time this year. So that number looks like it's going to go 13 for 14 at the end of this season.
Look there at Eric Almirola in the 98. Always a good plate racer. Picked up the win last spring at Talladega. Mentioned earlier he won here in the Xfinity car a couple of summers ago. Only win in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series for Eric came here in the summer of 2014, driving the 43 car for the King. And remember, as we look at that 98, there was a merger in the off-season. The 98 going to run part-time, but they are now fielding cars out of the shop at Stewart-Haas. So it will be a combo Stewart-Haas with Biaggi Dinbesti, and I think both have something to offer, because anytime we've seen the 98 at the track in recent years, always running a part-time schedule, they have brought speed. And of course, last year was the first year for SHR in their Xfinity program, and Cole Custer nearly made the championship four as a rookie, and of course won the season finale. I think there's some real opportunity here.
Yeah, this team right now, talking to them yesterday, and it can always change, but they're scheduled to run about a third of the schedule, and I think you maybe mentioned it with Eric Almirola. Kevin Harvick, Chase Briscoe going to run this car. I think Chase is going to be in it at Talladega, the next restrictor plate race.
He is, and of course Chase, as we said earlier in the show, one of those three drivers that will help make up that 60 car for the Roush Fenway organization. He is a Ford development driver.
In fact, Harvick couldn't think of a better place to take him next week at Atlanta.
Yeah, we'll see him on track.
Looks like we got one more big pack kind of forming here. Just a little under 5 minutes to go.
They'll be up to speed when we return to Daytona. Glad you're with us on this Friday afternoon. You're watching Xfinity Series practice live from Daytona, presented by Toyota. 2.5 minutes to go here in this session, and we got a group of cars getting with it, Larry Mack.
That one car of Elliott Sadler, he is pretty stout. I mean, look right there. He moved up to the top side with those four cars, not locked tight together, but as he told his crew earlier, I can maintain, and this is exactly what he's doing out there. 4 cars lined up, 5 cars almost, and he's out there on the outside kind of maintaining.
Nice mix here of teams on one side of the garage that put in a lot of work in the offseason, have a lot of funding, and some underdogs. David Starr driving that bright orange 52, and that red and black car you see just behind Justin Allgaier, Chris Cockrum in the 25. Some yellow highlights there. I'll bet you big money at some point tomorrow we see that 25 car in the mix. Every time we come to Daytona or Talladega, he finds a way to be a part of the equation.
That's the great thing about the restrictor plate racing here at Daytona and Talladega. When they fire those engines for the race, it's pretty much the equalizer out there.
There you see Chris in the 25. David Starr, a veteran. Saw in the graphic earlier, he's 50 years old. Of course, he comes from the state of Texas. I can't believe David has turned 50, but he's been a good part of NASCAR, Camping World Truck Series, Xfinity Series for a long, long time.
Adam, you talked about these teams having 4 sets of tires, and I just got word from Jamie Little that a lot of the teams are scuffing their tires. She said that actually the 22 car, Joey Logano, Brian Wilson, they've scuffed all of their 4 sets. It just kind of cures it a little bit. And I tell you the other thing, at the speed you're running here, if you get a vibration, you can't deal with it. And the one thing you do accomplish by at least running that set of tires at least once, Jamie, you know that they're in balance. They're not going to vibrate.
Larry, you must have telepathy with that 22 team. That's exactly what's happening. So he's on his last set of tires, sticker tires, to scuff in. Right before you said that, Joey came on the radio and said, I have a vibration. So he's going to do one more lap and then come back in. So that tells you right there that set is in balance. So they'll make a note for tomorrow's race.
Well, when we spoke earlier, you can do this race on 2 stops. So the last thing you want to do, especially maybe that last trip to pit road, is put a sticker set of tires on there that vibrates.
The red and black flags are being displayed. The opening practice of 2018 is complete for the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and for the most part without incident.
Well, Dylan Lupton and Daniel Henry may challenge that.
I said for the most part. We didn't put anybody in the wall. No backup cars that I know of, Regan.
No backup cars here. Cole Custer, 9th on the board. Cole, you had a good session, 2 drafting runs. How did your car feel, and can you tell anything different with this rules package from what you felt a year ago down here?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it seems like we got our car handling a lot better this year. We tried to work on that a little bit over the offseason, and it seems like they might not suck up quite as good, but it's not a huge difference. And we just try to get some more speed out of our car the second run when we went out there. But I'm really happy with our Haas Automation Mustang. I think we're going to race good, but we'll find out how much speed we got in qualifying tomorrow.
Thank you, Regan. Cole Custer wraps up that first practice in the 9th position.
Cole's going to run some cup races. I think his first one's going to be Las Vegas here in a couple of weeks.
Exciting opportunity for the young kid out of California that dominated when we were at Miami in November. So here are the final numbers. Saw a lot of drafting. Still have an hour to go later on, final practice. Are we going to see any track activity at all? What do you anticipate, crew chief?
Yeah, I still think we'll see some drafting, but I think as we get on into that practice, these teams will find out what putting some tape, changing the air pressure a little bit, maybe just how fast of a lap they can lay down with their race setup.
We know we're going to see some activity because there's 46 cars here this weekend, and only 40 have been on track. And there you see the last of those. J.J. Yaley driving the 39 for the Sieg family this weekend. That puts Ryan Sieg in the 93, just a numbers deal as far as points. Ryan will be back in the 39 next weekend at Atlanta. So here's what's ahead. Top of the hour, just a few minutes away for Monster Energy Series practice. That's next. We're back at 2, final practice for Xfinity cars. Trucks tonight. Cup cars, other side of the break. Stay with us live on FS1.